Maximize your yields while spreading out your workload with the earliest maturing winter cereal. Visit kws.com/ca to see how our hybrid rye varieties can work for you. High yields, high quality, high value for your farm. KWS, seeding the future since 1856.
It's time for RealAg Radio on Rural Radio Channel 147 on Sirius XM. RealAg Radio and RealAgriculture.com is your home for insight and analysis of the issues that are impacting your farm business. Let's get real and get connected with RealAg Radio. Welcome to RealAg Radio here on Rural Radio 147 at Sirius XM. Shaun Haney, your host here on this Monday edition of the show. Thanks so much, everybody, for making RealAg Radio and Rural Radio 147 a big part of your workday. Also, a big shout out to everybody listening out there on the RealAg Radio podcast, wherever you get your podcasts. It's great to have everybody here. Hey, hope you had yourself a great weekend. We had lots of storms rolling through parts of the prairies, as well over in central and eastern Canada as well. It is that time of the year. The season is progressing, so to speak, and sprayers rolling all over the place indeed. We even got some combines happening out in eastern Canada as well. Of course, that winter wheat harvest is underway. We're going to hear about that from Peter W.P. Johnson here today on the program. We're also going to hear from Philip Korczak. He is with Vaderstad. We're going to hear about a product spotlight with Vaderstad today. Of course, Ag in Motion is happening this week in Saskatoon. I'll be there tomorrow. Looking forward to it. Going to be doing a breakfast with the Saskatchewan Pulse growers in the morning in one of the tents. That starts at 8 o'clock a.m. And then I'm going to be doing the Field of Stars on Tuesday night down at TCU Place downtown in Saskatoon. Going to raise a lot of money for a very good cause. Looking forward to that. Make sure you check out those auction items. I believe they got some online. So looking forward to working with Stars and the whole gang, Alana Cook and Sherilyn Nagel, and it's going to be a fantastic evening. And really, I'm honored to be a part of it. I'm going to be the MC for the event. So Field of Stars on Tuesday night. We also got some big news here today, a big announcement from MNP. They're going to be jumping into the agronomy ring. That's right. MNP is expanding. Now, MNP, the accounting firm, that's right. MNP, the accounting firm, is launching an agronomy business. And so we're going to get the details on that today from Marvin Slingerland and Warren Bills, who are leading that project for MNP. We're also going to talk about seeding, speed, and rate, and the results of all of that together with Clint Jurke in a Canola School episode. And we'll finish up today with Jeremy Boychyn of Alberta Grains, talking about on-farm research trials. So lots to discuss here today on the program. Now, if you have any feedback, you can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com. You can also find Real Agriculture across all the different social media platforms. You're also more than welcome to call the Real Ag feedback line, 855-776-6147. Okay, we are going to take a break, and when we come back, we got Peter W.P. Johnson right after this. Talking right now to Exotic's Global Business Development Manager, Tom Trigano. Let's talk about what exactly does Invita do.
So what Invita can do, it can be applied with your herbicide, your fungicides. It gets inside the plant cells, and that's where it fixes nitrogen. So really, we're talking about an alternative form of nitrogen that can fix nitrogen into a usable form right inside the plant cells. You can either use it in furrow, or it can be a foliar applied product.
What can farmers expect from Invita when they're using it?
Obviously, that depends on the crop you're growing and what your fertility rates are. The vast majority of the folks using it are comparing it at 100% of their fertility. So they're not changing their nitrogen down. Growers are going to use this that's going to provide them the best ROI. The vast majority of the time, we're looking at this as standard fertility rates. Sometimes you're going to lose some nitrogen. I expect Invita to show a stronger benefit than it typically does, simply because the applied nitrogen would have been lost.
If somebody wants more information on Invita, the website exotic.com, or of course, you can always talk to your local retailer to source the product.
The Pulse School on RealAgriculture.com has everything you need to get your crop off to a great start and a strong finish. Whether you're growing chickpeas, faba beans, lentils, or peas, you'll get all the latest and best agronomic information at PulseSchool.com. A library of top-notch agronomy videos from industry experts available on demand at your fingertips. Visit the Pulse School, brought to you by BASF on RealAgriculture.com.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio here on this Monday. Like I said, it's Agronomic Monday. We're going to get into with our next guest here very shortly. First, I want to tell you about KWS Seeds. Seeding the future since 1856. Maximize your yields while spreading out your workload with the earliest maturing winter cereal from KWS Seeds. Visit kws.com/ca to see how our hybrid rye varieties can work for you. High yields, high quality, high value for your farm. KWS since 1856. But also very close to our next guest's birthday. Pete Johnson. Pete, how are you?
Yeah, well, gee, thanks, Shaun. Like, I know I'm an old guy, but let me just say that you're out about 100 years on 1856. Okay, so I'm old, but not quite that old.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, my mistake. My mistake. Young at heart, though, Pete.
100%, man.
Young
Although after a hard weekend at the farm, like we worked just as doing everything we could to get the wheat harvested, and we combined late into the evening last night to get the field we were in done. We managed to get it done, but boy, after 2 days of going hard, I might be young at heart, but my body is feeling like it's not as young as the mind wishes it was. How's that?
Yeah. I hear you. I hear you. What's with the rain? Like this is the time of the year where we tend to see a lot of, it's kind of storm season, right? And you always hope that hail is not mixed in. I saw some pretty substantial hail storms go through parts of Saskatchewan and Montana on the weekend. But in southwestern Ontario, massive loads of rain in a very short period of time happened. What's going on?
Yeah, so yesterday, if you could imagine, we started combining early, and we got one round done in the field, and all of a sudden we got this downpour, and we looked on the radar, and it just was forming up right over top of where we were combining, and the poor people to the east of us, some of those people got 3/4 of an inch, inch and a quarter. Then this morning, a band of thunderstorms went through, really hit the London area hard. I'm sure other areas as well, but I was talking with Ken Nixon, great farmer just north of London, and he has a weather station. It was coming down at the rate of 11 inches per hour, 288 millimeters per hour. He got 2.6 inches in, 15 or 20 minutes. We didn't get quite that much here in Ingersoll where I am this morning, or today rather, but yeah, wow, the rain is coming hard and fast, and lots of erosion on ground that is not protected. Now, thankfully, the crop is protecting most of the ground, but we're still getting ponds in field. Poor growers that replanted the low spots in soybean fields and whatnot, they're all flooded out again. It's just crazy the amount of rain we're getting, Shaun, and how fast it's coming.
Yeah, well, timing is everything, and that's not, rain's great, moisture will take it, but that's a little bit too much at kind of the wrong time for sure. I guess the lodging, that's the other thing I've seen is, and I don't think there's any PGR that protects you from some, if you get that much rain in your crop, I don't think anything's going to hold it up. I've seen some pretty substantial lodging from some of these storms in Western Canada as well, which always makes harvest so difficult if that crop doesn't come back up.
Oh yeah, and oftentimes it depends on when it lodges and how it lodges, right, Shaun? Yeah. But if it lodges after anthesis, it just about never comes up very much because the plant doesn't have that. It's not growing more. It's not stem elongating anymore, so it doesn't get that chance to kind of gooseneck or pull itself back up a little bit. And really interesting you talk about lodging, because these heavy rainstorms, the spring cereal crop here at a grower on Saturday sent me a picture after a big storm went through, and the field was 97% flat, like just flat to the ground. And yeah, exactly. You just go, oh, isn't that going to be fun combine? And probably have to combine it one way. And interestingly enough, the low wheat yields and the low winter barley yields were almost always this year, 2024, associated with early lodging in the crop. Now, in Western Canada, you're getting lodging because you finally got rain, right? You get into Manitoba, they've had almost too much moisture. You get that too much moisture, you get lots of lush growth and big yield potential, and then you get the next rainstorm and it just flattens it out. It's not exactly where we'd like to be. And you're right. No growth like growth regulators are one tool in the toolbox, but there's many other tools that come along, and Mother Nature always holds the trump card.
What's happening with those winter wheat yields? How are they? Are we happy, dissatisfied? What's the reaction to what we're seeing out there as the combine's starting to get some of this grain thrashed?
Yeah, so I mean, we're actually at least 3/4 harvested in the deep southwest. When you get up into my part of the world, we're just getting started north of London, although along Lake Huron, they're much further advanced as well. It's really, you can really see the maturity differences, the length of season differences show right now. And it's as if the wheat often comes together in Ontario so that all the harvest happens within 2 weeks. It's not doing that this year. It really is much more spread out. But when you talk about yields, I just love this, Shaun. I had a grower, he got 131 bushel per acre yield, the best wheat yield he has ever had. And his only comment to me was, yeah, he's kind of disappointed. I actually thought there was going to be more out there than what I got.
Been 130?
Yeah, exactly. But the general sentiment for a lot of growers, not everybody, but a lot of growers are just saying, wow, it looks so good in the field. And we thought we had even more than we got. Most growers are at least average. I haven't talked to anyone really that's below average. Most growers are saying above average. Some growers are saying record yields. That 131 was a record yield for that grower. And so we're really good on yields. But, and by the way, quality is also holding up. I was really worried about quality. We are getting some falling numbers starting to tail down a little bit now, some black point, some mildew. But dawn levels, I'm surprised as heck, touch wood, we have not had high dawn in the grain. We knew we had fusarium, but it doesn't look like it's created much toxin. So yields solid. Straw yields, by the way, I've had growers that have had twice as much straw yield as on an average yield. Their only comment was, "Dang, I wish the grain yield would have been the same as the straw yield, because the grain yield was really good, but it wasn't twice my average," whereas straw yields have been through the roof.
So the amount of dawn lower than maybe we were worried about. What about tar spot in the corn? This is one that I've been hearing a lot of more discussion here in 2024 from agronomists and farmers.
Yeah, and finding more and more reports of tar spot all the time. And not, fortunately, so far, not further north where it hasn't been a traditional problem, but certainly from London, south and west, I keep seeing and getting reports, people sending me pictures of, yeah, found a tar spot lesion. And you got to be careful. If it wipes off with your finger, it's not a tar spot lesion. But if it sticks there, if it's like a tar spot that you can't rub off, that probably is tar spot. And lots of reports coming in that doesn't rub off. So it's the interesting thing about tar spot, though, Shaun, that we have to remember, like these big rains, you kind of think, oh, that's ideal for tar spot, but it's not. Tar spot doesn't like heavy rains, because if there's a spore sitting on the leaf, the heavy rain actually could wash it off. But what it really likes is leaf wetness. And so the big rains aren't the risk. It's the weather after the big rains. So 7 hours of leaf wetness, the more days you walk out in that corn crop at 10 a.m. and you're just getting soaked, the higher the chance of that tar spot taking off. Initial infection absolutely showing up early. And high humidity days. Yesterday, the humidity was through the roof. I really think it's a high tar spot year, but growers should absolutely be using Field Profit. It's an app you can download on your phone, and Field Profit, that's with a PROPHET. So it's predictive. It's the profit. And that's the software program out of Damian Mason from Wisconsin.
Yep.
And he's just a real great app guy. It's got the Sporecaster for white mold. It's got tar spot. It's got just a whole bunch of different corn and soybean disease prediction models. Nothing for wheat. Give your head a shake on that.
Well, and if this, with all the moisture, getting out there to spray the fungicides is going to be a real challenge, right?
Yeah, absolutely. Yeah, and so we're really up against it with white mold as well, Shaun, because a lot of growers, like you just to drive through the field, we're going to be cutting ruts in the wet spots at the very least because of how much rain we've had. And by the way, that's with corn right now in its rapid growth phase, pumping water like crazy, kind of in that 1/4 of an inch to 1/3 of an inch of water per day. But when you start getting 6 inches in a week and the corn crop's using 2, that 4 extra inches just makes things really wet. And aerial applicators, it sounds like some of the aerial applicators that normally we would be able to rely on for tar spot spraying corn here in southwestern Ontario, they're so busy in northern Ontario spraying forests that they aren't going to get time to come down here to do corn for agriculture. So that means we got to be able to get through the field with ground rigs, because we may not have as many aerial options as what we generally do.
What's your thought on spraying with drones? Seeing growers doing some testing of this.
Yeah, 100%.
We talked about this on Friday's show. Be careful what you're doing, because you don't want to be there's fines substantial if you're spraying the wrong product. So, but what's your thought on it?
So in Canada, if the product you're spraying has a PCP number, right, a pest control products number, that means you can't spray it with a drone. That is even true for surfactants, because they have a PCP number. If it's a nutrient, no problem, because that's through a different registration program. But I was at the Weeds Day at Elora last Thursday, and I couldn't, they had a drone demonstration there. And so they flew high and fast, and at a 5 gallons per acre, which you kind of say, well, that's aerial applicator rate. But at 5 gallons per acre, because these drones are using spinning discs, that's the distribution system for the droplet. At 5 gallons per acre, flying fast, there's so much water coming out, and there's nothing in the water other than dye. And we got to look at the dye on a strip that was spread all across the pathway. He went out and came back, and it actually floods the spinning disc. And so if you have too high a water volume, try to get too many acres done, it floods the spinning disc, and then it doesn't spin the droplets out. And at doing that, you got these great big blobs that were landing on the strip. And it's kind of like, well, that doesn't work. That coverage was horrible. And so then they dropped it to 2 gallons per acre and flew a bit slower and tried to use a finer droplet. And then you get into all sorts of vortices off the end of the props, because drones are different, right? Every other aerial applicator doesn't really have the way that they're carrying is on the air, and so you don't get this push down the same way you do with a drone. A drone's got 4 different or 6 different helicopter rotors, if you will, carrying it, and every one is going at a different speed to keep it going in the straight direction. And even that's a real engineering cool feat. But because of that, it just changes as it's going down the pathway, and the coverage underneath that drone was just brutally poor. It had real spikes underneath the drone, and just like, you just look at that and say, wow, we're going to get there. But it is going to take some doing to figure out how to do a good job of coverage using a drone.
How long do you think it takes
before we figure it out?
Yeah.
Oh, people are so smart. And if Drone Spray Canada is doing tests globally, so I think they'll get it figured out. But we actually probably need spray companies to get involved as well, that have the spray ingenuity to sort out what's happening underneath those rotors and dealing with wind, because the drone is really prone to wind, especially if it has small droplets. Like, there's lots of things to deal with from that perspective. So it'll happen. When you say how soon, I hope within a year or two, but they're not quite there yet.
Fascinating. Like, so I think it's really interesting because it makes, at 100,000 feet makes a lot of sense, but there is some things to be ironed out that you mentioned about some of the patterns. Obviously we've got different water volumes that we're dealing with when you look at a drone versus an airplane even, or for sure a ground rig. So yeah, but it's people are definitely pushing, right? The people are going to push this to try to figure it out.
Absolutely. And on a year like this, I want a drone to come and spray my fungicide on corn, but I can't do it yet. Yeah. So we need them 100%.
All good. Hey, Pete, have yourself a great week. Okay.
Yeah, you as well. Thanks, Shaun. Talk to you soon.
That is Peter Wheat Pete Johnson. Make sure you download Wheat Pete's Word. A new episode drops of his podcast every single Wednesday. Hey, when we come back here on RealAg Radio, we're going to hear from Vaderstad and Product Spotlight. And we also have some big news. MNP. Wait a minute, it's Agronomic Monday. Yes, MNP has made a big announcement here today. We're going to be joined by Marvin Slingerland and Warren Bills talking about MNP getting into agronomy. That's coming up right after this quick break.
Advanced canola trait technology is here. And it's soon to be the talk of the town. Optimum Glide delivers excellent yield potential and agronomic trait performance. Improved crop safety. Enhanced weed control. And a wider window of application. You're going to want to see this. Learn more at OptimumGlide.ca.
If you're involved in the agriculture industry, it's important to stay informed on all the latest issues affecting your business. At RealAgriculture.com, we offer fast, reliable news, information, and insights to help you keep on top of all of the latest in Canadian agriculture. Visit RealAgriculture.com and sign up for our free daily newsletter covering everything from news, agronomy, animal agriculture, and much more. Visit RealAgriculture.com/subscribe today.
I'm Lindsay Smith from RealAgriculture.com. Join me Monday nights for The Agronomists, a 1-hour live and interactive show broadcast across YouTube, Facebook, and X. Monday nights at 8 p.m. Eastern, I host expert agronomists from all over the country to give you answers to some of the toughest agronomic questions. Join us live or catch the replay Tuesday morning. That's The Agronomists with me, Lindsay Smith, Monday nights live at 8 p.m. Eastern.
It's now time on RealAg Radio for a product spotlight with Vaderstad, and we're joined by the Director of Sales for Western Canada, is Philip Korczak. Hey, Philip, how's it going?
Hey, Shaun, I'm doing well. Thanks for having me.
Okay, so lots happening here in the month of July out in the fields, and we're seeing the fruits of really getting that seed in the ground in the best way possible. Obviously, Vaderstad's a big part of that. What is Vaderstad's big news at the show for Ag in Motion this year, which is fast approaching?
Yeah, well, the market and our customers specifically have been asking for increased capacity in their seeding systems so that they can stay in the field longer between filling their air cart with seed and fertilizer in order to help maximize their efficiencies. The more times the farmer has to refill their air cart in a day or a week or the month of seeding, the less efficient they are ultimately. It's been proven time and time again that filling is what really slows down the operation. This ultimately affects their productivity and essentially the number of acres that they can seed in a given period of time. As I'm sure you're well aware, Shaun, and most of the listeners will know that it seems like the window for seeding seems to be getting shorter and shorter and more variable every year. And the faster a farmer can get their crop in the ground, the better the chances of that crop reaching its maximum potential. So Vaderstad is very excited to help our farmers become more efficient by offering an all-new size in our precision delivery tank line, which is in fact our biggest tank offering that we now have, what we call the 1,350 bushel PD 1350.
Wow, that's cool. Very neat. Okay, so tell us about some of the new features that are specific to this PD 1350, this largest cart that Väderstad's ever had to offer.
Yeah, absolutely. There's a lot of similar features to our existing lineup. So our existing lineup has been a 680 bushel cart, an 820 bushel cart, and a 1,000 bushel cart. This 1,350 bushel cart will have a lot of the similar features that our customers know from those tank lines. So individual weight scales on each bin, individual electronic metering for each primary per bin, industry-leading section control, and more features that are out there. However, unique to this new PD 1350 are a redesigned front axle, allowing for the accommodation of dual tires, something that we have never offered before and currently don't offer on any of our other tanks in our product line. So the PD 1350 will come standard with 710 duals on the front axle, and along with larger tires on the front axle, the rear axle is also getting a larger set of tires. Previously, we offered 800 duals on all the other carts in the 820 and 1,000 bushel lineup. This PD 1350 will have 900 duals. So with this increased footprint front and rear, compaction is minimized with the larger capacity. Lastly, a hydraulically engaged braking system is on the rear axle to also ensure the safety of our operators with this large amount of product that they're pulling behind them in hilly conditions.
So what's the availability of this new cart, and when are you going to have them in the fields?
Great question. Yeah, we are actually going to have limited availability for spring of 2025. So Vaderstad dealers have actually already been given their allocation. So if you are interested or you know someone that might be interested in one of these new high-capacity carts, definitely reach out to your local Vaderstad dealer. Start of sales is going to be directly after the Ag in Motion show on July 19th, with production staggered between January to April of 2025, with the intention of these units being in the field for spring of 2025, delivered to the farmer. If you happen to miss out on one of these machines for this spring, as we know demand will far exceed our availability, our plans are to be at full capacity of this new larger cart when we release our model year 26 pricing and program.
Okay, you're going to have one down at the show?
We will actually have two on our booth at the Ag in Motion ground, so absolutely come on out and stop by and take a look and ask all the questions that you guys want to ask.
Oh, that's awesome. That's going to be, I'm definitely stopping and going to see what that thing looks like. That's a large cart, and it definitely applicable, right? Stay in the field longer, less time, having to stop and refill. That's where a lot of people, they have some inefficiencies, right? So there's big-time productivity gains here. Indeed, on top of some of the other features that you already have. So if somebody wants more information, Philip, where do they go?
Yeah, honestly, Ag in Motion is going to be a great place to stop by. We'll be there all 3 days, obviously, with the two carts on our booth. So stop by at the Ag in Motion show. If you can't make it out to the show, we will have information out on our website, which is just www.vaderstad.com, and you will go under the seating tab. And then ultimately, our dealers are going to be educated on this product as well. So you're more than welcome to reach out to your local Vaderstad dealer for more information.
Great stuff. Well, Philip, thanks a lot for joining us here today for this product spotlight with Vaderstad.
Thank you, Shaun.
Hey, we'll be right back here on RealAg Radio, Rural Radio 147, Sirius XM.
It's summertime, and you've got a lot of important decisions to make when it comes to your corn crop. Let the Corn School on RealAgriculture.com help guide you through those big decisions with input from leading experts in the field. If it's spray timing, disease identification, or any other field issue, the Corn School's got you covered. The Corn School on RealAgriculture.com. Brought to you by BASF and Pride Seeds.
I get to spend every day talking to farmers in the ag industry through RealAgriculture.com and RealAg Radio. But nothing is more fun than speaking to an audience live and in person. If you're planning an ag event, book a Real Agriculture speaker to make it a successful and memorable experience. Email shaney@realagriculture.com and you can book myself or any other Real Ag personality to speak at your event. Bring your audience all the fun, insight, and energy of Real Agriculture. Big news this week is MNP, the accounting firm, is setting up an agronomy business. What is this all about? I had a chance to catch up with Warren Bills and Marvin Slingerland of MNP to discuss the details. Big announcement here on this Monday. Very interesting diversification indeed. Let's dig into it. Joining us right now is Marvin Slingerland. He is with MNP, and he's the Senior Vice President of Agriculture. Hey, Marvin, how's it going?
It's going pretty good, Shaun, and thanks for having us on today.
Yeah, also joining us is Warren Bills, and we're going to get to Warren in a second here. Okay, so but Warren, welcome.
Thanks, Shaun.
Okay, Marvin, what's the announcement?
Well, as of September 1st, we are joining with 6 agronomy practices across the prairies. So we are adding a new service line to assist our clients, and we're very excited to bring Warren's team on board. And it's an exciting new chapter for MNP, and looking forward to rolling this out.
So MNP is going to be in the agronomy business. Why?
Well, as we see the importance of helping clients, like MNP has been strong helping clients financially for many years, and our knowledge stops basically on the financial side. And a lot of times is like, how do we translate this into helping clients make the most profitable crop? And there comes a conversation where we need to talk with agronomists to help clients grow the most profitable crop. And that's where Warren's team comes in, and they can help clients implement the plan.
Well, Warren, we've known each other for a long time. You've now, I guess you're the lucky one. Now you get to hang out with a bunch of accountants. Look at that.
I am lucky one, Shaun. We're pumped, and you know, to say this is my team is really not even fair. We've got 6 operating local Canadian, Western Canadian businesses that have been running awesome agronomy services for years, and really we're consolidating them together with an amazing firm that's looking out for the best interest of the farm and the industry. So MNP actually was the one that did a study that would suggest that a difference between a good farm and a great farm is about $100 an acre. And the great farm, they're working with agronomists. And so, you know, we're here to help good farms become great and add additional services to the bottom line with MNP. So.
Warren, from your experience, do you feel there's a gap here, or there's more farms looking to potentially deal with professional agronomists to assist them? Where do you see the opportunity?
Yeah, I think it's a good question, Shaun. I think there is a gap. It's maybe starting to widen a little bit in Canadian agriculture for finding, you know, good, consistent, quality agronomic services that can be, you know, scaled out to many farms with a good data set behind it and a team behind it. It's just a little bit messy right now in the industry. There's been companies that have come and gone in the agronomy consulting services group and type of service. Even the retail channel is kind of coming and going at times with these types of services. So we see the gap, you know, really being filled with this consolidation of some of the businesses that are looking for what's next in their own lives and their own transition. Yeah.
So is it still how is the industry functioning at this point? Is it a per hour charge, like say an accountant would charge? Or is it by the acre? What's the business model look like from MNP's perspective, Warren?
Yeah, we'll see our value continually to be offered on the per acre basis for the most part. We're not looking to, you know, move an account trade time for dollars. We add value by scaling good quality advice over the acres. And so, you know, a recommendation on a crop of canola can be applied across, you know, millions of acres of canola. So we'll keep that. That's how we operate today, and we'll keep that consistent throughout the transition here.
Marvin, from MNP's perspective, do you see this? I guess we're talking about 6 groups today. Is there room for more growth in that? And on top of that, do you see Central and Eastern Canada being a part of the long-term plan?
Yes, absolutely, Shaun. And it's a good question. MNP has been built on mergers, starting from one office in Brandon, Manitoba, and moving across the prairies. And I see this service line working the same way. As we continue to develop our product offering, I see no reason why we wouldn't stop attracting new agronomists to our firm and continue to grow this across the country.
Yeah. You know, that study that you guys are referencing, I remember talking to different, some of the farm advisors from MNP about that study. You know, 2 neighbors, you know, they're sharing a fence row, can see pretty dramatic differences when it comes to their bottom line at the end of the day. They're farming the same land, growing the same crops, but there is a difference from an economic standpoint. Marvin, for you, is that gap the agronomic side, or are there other factors to that?
I think it's getting everybody on the same page, Shaun. I think the power, and I can't wait to see the power of having somebody with strong financial insight and somebody with strong agronomy insight in the same room with the same producer, with the same vision and moving in the same direction and being on the same page. And I think this will be pretty exciting for our clients.
Yeah, cool stuff. Well, honestly, congratulations to the both of you. I really look forward to seeing how this new diversification MNP develops, and we'll be tracking it closely. So, hey, thanks a lot. Really appreciate it.
You bet. Thanks for your time, Shaun.
Thanks, Shaun.
As I mentioned in the interview, definitely an interesting diversification for MNP. Would like your feedback on it and see what you have to say. My email address is shaney@realagriculture.com. Clearly, there is MNP sees an opportunity here, and we'll have to see how it develops and how it grows over the course of time geographically as well across Canada. Okay, now we're going to focus on a recent Canola School episode that Amber Bell of Real Agriculture filmed with Clint Jurke of the Canola Council of Canada, talking about the relationship of seeding speed to results in emergence. And obviously, a lot of focus on speed in the past. The Canola Council's done a lot of research here. Let's hear what Clint has to say.
Well, what we do know, and there's a pile of research that's been collected over the years, right back from the 70s to current, and looking at what is the ideal plant population that you need. And with modern day hybrids, the magic numbers are 5 to 8 plants per square foot. So if you can get 5 to 8 plants established in the field, whatever you can do to get that 5 to 8 plants, then you're successful. What we do know is that to get to 100% of your yield potential, you need to have canola plants. But when you only have 1 or 2 canola plants per square foot, well, Mother Nature is not always going to cooperate. We could see adverse conditions. Canola is really plastic. It will fill space in, but it takes time, and that exposes you to more and more risk. And so that 5 to 8 plants per square foot is really the threshold on which your odds of getting that 100% of your yield potential are best met.
Okay, and what are you looking at for, how do you make that decision on what seeding rate you're going to have when you go out to your drill?
So that's a really great question. Like, what should I be targeting? Should I be targeting 5 plants? Should I be targeting 8 plants? That really depends upon what you think are going to be the risks that you're going to face in the season. If it's the beginning of the season, you're seeding into cold soils, the seed's going to take a while to germinate. Really, you need soil temperatures above 2 degrees C for that seed just to even start. And 8 degrees is kind of the threshold and when it grows really quite nicely. So if you're seeding in cold soil, well, then the risk of some of those seeds making it to the soil surface are not as good. So you probably want to bump up your seeding rate. So instead of targeting 5 plants per square foot, target 8 plants. If you think that there's any type of risk that you're going to face, then going with the higher seeding rate or the higher seeded target is the best one. Early season is really the biggest risk, because even when the plants come up, chances of you hitting a late spring frost, seedling diseases become a bigger issue as well. So that's when you want to think of choosing a higher rate. So that's the range in which you want to work. I know that there are some growers that are thinking, well, maybe I can cut my seeding rates back to and targeting 3 plants, targeting 2 plants. Again, we do know of situations where farmers have been fairly successful. They've gotten 40 bushels, maybe 50 bushels off of stands that size. But again, it puts you into a higher risk category. And who's to say that if you would have had 2 more plants there that you wouldn't have gotten 50 or 60 bushels instead. So the science is really clear that the threshold is 5 to 8, and once you're outside of it, your odds of getting that yield potential goes down.
Right. And how does speed come into play?
So speed, seeding speed, this is something that was really interesting. I've been with the Canola Council for quite a long time now. And I remember when I was fairly young and joined, we talked a lot about seeding speed because we knew that farmers at that point in time, so maybe I should date myself, this was 15 years ago. So at that point in time, we saw a lot of farmers that were really ramping up their speeds. They were going from 3 mile an hour up to 6 mile an hour, even faster. And a lot of the seeders that we were using at that time were air seeders. There were some air drills that were coming onto the market, and precision planting was just developing. But what we did see at that point in time was that with higher speeds, it caused a lot more bounce in the implement, and the accuracy of that seed placement decreased. Yeah. And so even though farmers were targeting 1/2 inch or 3/4 of an inch, we were finding sometimes seeds down more than 3 inches, and then finding other rows that might be on the soil surface. So at that point in time, we really talked about like speed kills. So high travel time through the field was not a good thing. But drills have improved a lot in that time. We've got better openers, we got better ground flex and packing pressure, and as a result, higher speeds maybe aren't as bad as what they once were. It really depends upon your drill. And so this is where you need to do a little bit of investigating as a producer. Maybe 3 miles an hour is still the right speed for you, and so do a pass at 3 miles an hour, do some digging around, see where that seed placement is. Maybe try one at 4.5 miles an hour, see where that seed placement is. We don't have one speed anymore that we would recommend as a rule for every single drill. It really depends upon soil type, soil conditions, the environment, and your equipment.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah.
And then, so how important is it to go out and be counting your plant emergence at that point?
Very. So during the seeding operation, you want to be looking for making sure that you do have good seed placement. And this is never fun. I know that myself. I do get behind our seeder as well and spend hours digging around in the dirt looking for seed placement. When you're really happy with your seed placement, then come out 2 weeks after seeding and throw a hoop. I do have a handy dandy one here. And do some plant counts and check to see how well your seed placement was. Like if you were targeting that 3/4 of an inch, did most of the seeds actually wind up at 3/4 of an inch? Did you actually get that 5 plants per square foot that you were targeting? Or you're targeting 5 and you only got 4? Well, okay, why did you not get the 5?
The difference.
So it's a little tricky. Seed sizes are all different now, and thankfully a lot of seed companies are providing that information on the bag. They'll have the seed weight on the bag. Some of them will differentiate the bags in terms of seed size, and so then you can get a better sense for how much seed you need to be applying, especially if you are seeding on a weight basis, like 5 pounds per acre or 4 pounds per acre. So once you know like your seed size, then that will really determine what your seeding rate really needs to be. So knowing your 1,000 seed weight, or if the package indicates what the seed size is, some differentiate them like A size, B size, C size. That'll tell you what your seeding rate needs to be. You need to get back out into the field and count to see if that really was successful. Did you actually get the right number of seeds down? And if you did get the right number of seeds down, okay, well, why are they all not coming up? What's actually impacting the emergence of those plants?
Right, and then how important is record keeping then? Because I mean, okay, so how many years should we keep that for? You know, how long back are we going to want to look to keep an idea of what's going on in your field?
Well, I would say that if you really want to be successful with seeding canola, you want to have a good estimate of what your average emergence rate is. On average across the prairies, most farmers are planting 2 seeds to get 1 plant, so that's only 50% emergence. But there are some producers that are getting higher, that they could be getting 60, 70, 80, some that are lower. Knowing what your number is in most years with your equipment is really essential, because if you can routinely get 80% emergence, well, then you don't need to buy as much seed as a grower that's only getting 40%.
Right.
To get that same plant population. There's potentially real impacts upon your profitability by knowing that. So, but unfortunately, every year is different. The soil conditions are a little bit different every year. if you change your machinery, then that's going to have an impact as well. So I would say that this should be a normal scouting practice every year, that you should try to assess how successful your seeding operation went.
When we come back on RealAg Radio, we're going to hear from Jeremy Boychyn of Alberta Grains about some on-farm research. You're listening to RealAg Radio, Rural Radio 147, and it is Agronomic Monday.
Canola is more than just a pretty face in the prairie landscape. It's a big business, both here and around the world, that requires you to be informed and up to date on everything it takes to grow a successful crop. The Canola School on RealAgriculture.com has an expert library of video resources covering markets, agronomy, and more to help you grow a healthy and profitable canola crop. Visit CanolaSchool.com today. Brought to you by BASF Canada and Invigor Hybrid Canola.
Infuse some energy into your next corporate event, customer meeting, or conference with RealAg Radio, Canada's national agriculture radio show. Create a unique experience at your next event with host Shaun Haney, broadcasting RealAg Radio live on SiriusXM, featuring exciting guests, captivating interviews, and the latest news from the agriculture community. Contact advertising at realagriculture.com or call 587-787-1795 to book your on location with RealAg Radio today.
And welcome back to RealAg Radio here on Agronomic Monday. We're now going to hear a Wheat School interview that Amber Bell did with Jeremy Boychyn of Alberta Grains. And the Wheat School is brought to you by Alberta Grains, Syngenta Canada, and C&M Seeds. Of course, you can find out more by going to wheatschool.com. On-farm research, on-farm trials, very critical, a part of the research equation. And this is something that Alberta Grains finds very, very important. Jeremy's going to give us some tips here on how to do it properly and how maybe they can assist.
More scientific way of it's replicated, it's randomized, and we're trying to get results that we can confidently make decisions in. And that can fall into agronomic questions, such as, how much fertilizer am I putting down? It all could also fall into genetic questions of, am I using the right variety? How do these varieties perform on my farm? So the approach is going to be different, and maybe how you're asking the questions is going to be different, but overarchingly, we're trying to ask the question of, how do these potential changes on farm impact farmers and the decisions they'll make in the future?
Okay, so how do you select participating farmers? Like, who do you decide to go with? Can people bring ideas to you? How does that work? Yeah, so with Plot to Farm, which is the Alberta Grains on-farm research program, we essentially do a call out to producers and say, hey, if you're interested in asking an on-farm question and you want support to ask that question, apply. Bring your question to us. Let us know about your equipment, what field you think would work for it, how you want to approach it. And even before then, we're happy to engage and have a conversation of, okay, what does the program actually look like? How's that process going to look? But it's essentially an open call for producers to ask questions. Now, we are using producers' levy dollars to run this program, so we want to make sure we're asking questions that are relevant to as many producers as possible, right? This is a producer-driven program where we're saying, okay, if we're going to be doing this, let's make sure it's valuable to as many producers as possible. So we get those applicants in. We review what questions they want to answer. We'll have discussions with them to make sure we understand the fine details of how it's going to be implemented and what results we're looking for. And then we'll select based on that. But, generally most producers who are applying end up being part of the program, which is exciting because it means that producers are seeing value in the program. Right, and you said it was producer driven. So how did this all come about and what does it look like today? Yeah, so this actually started in about 2018. The research committee on Alberta wheat and Alberta barley, which is now the amalgamated Alberta Grains, saw on-farm research being conducted in different parts of Western Canada, in the U.S., and they thought, we need to do something like this in Alberta. There's value in using this as a vehicle to talk about small plot research and how the results of that small plot research will impact farmers. Logistically, economically, what does it look like when we make a recommendation of, hey, we've conducted this small plot research. These are the results we're recommending. And then being able to ask that question on farm. Okay, so what does this recommendation actually mean to you
producer in Fort Vermilion or in Barhead or wherever it happens to be. Today we're in Bow Island. So making sure that we're asking those questions across the province and understanding what the impact's going to be. So that was the goal, was to kind of say, okay, let's align this with small plot research, and let's see what kind of questions producers are asking on farm. But as most good programs end up doing, it's kind of expanded from there and become something that helps us connect the research community with the farm community of, okay, this is what we're seeing on farm, right? And what does this mean for small plot research in the future, and how do we align those questions to make sure essentially both of those feet are walking in the same direction, and we're hopefully providing the best information for producers to make good decisions on their farm.
That's great to see those two things coming together. We are currently at the Plot to Farm, at one of the Plot to Farm trial sites. So what is happening here on this site?
Yeah, so this is one of the trials where we're cooperating with Quattro Farms and Farming Smarter. So they are implementing a trial that's looking at different rates of enhanced efficiency fertilizer with their nitrogen rates. So the idea is, if we're using an enhanced efficiency fertilizer, how does that impact yield? And then if we're reducing nitrogen rates slightly, does the application of enhanced efficiency fertilizer help us maybe mitigate some of the cost of an enhanced efficiency fertilizer product, and what does that look like in terms of yield and quality? So that's kind of the general framework of what that trial is looking to ask, and hopefully they'll be able to get good information moving forward.
Right. Is this the first year of the trial here?
Yeah, so all of our trials are single year, at a single site in a single location. So some of our trials, we try and do the same trial in different locations if we can. But when we think about the research application and combining different locations, the methodology always needs to be essentially exactly the same for us to combine trials together. So we don't combine the results, we keep them separate, because statistically we can't combine them. But sometimes we try and do multiple trials that are generally the same to kind of create a better picture of the answer in a farm scale research design.
And how do you decide which ones might fit for that? Like, I'm guessing topography, environments, all of that come into play. So how do you decide if there are ones that would be fitting for multi-sites?
Yeah, so again, this ties back to farmer interest, right? If there was 4 farmers that were next to each other all wanting to ask the same question, absolutely, let's do that. We can work together to create something that's as similar as possible. The questions of does the field work, does the equipment work, that comes after the farmer interest piece. Like, this program is driven on farmer interest of, this is what I want to ask, this is why I want to ask it, and then the program looks to support asking that question through help with trial design and support with an agronomist.
Hope you enjoyed today's episode of RealAg Radio. I'm looking forward to seeing everybody at Ag in Motion tomorrow in Saskatoon, and of course at that STARS event on Tuesday night. If you have any feedback on today's show, you can send me an email, shaney@realagriculture.com, or you can call the RealAg feedback line, 855-776-6147. Thanks everybody for getting real and getting connected with RealAg Radio. We'll chat again tomorrow. Cheers, everybody.